Hey guys, welcome to your 2 lessons on the plague, also known as the Black Death that ravaged medieval Europe during the Middle Ages as well and led to the fall of feudalism as we've studied as well. Make sure you go ahead and have a look at the description to access the link for this website for my medieval Europe teaching and learning resource. So this lesson, we're going to do lesson 1, the cause and effects of the plague. So you're to know and to be able to that you're going to write down at the top of your books, your success criteria for this lesson. You're to know is the plague, and you're to be able to is explain how the plague affected medieval Europe. A bit of pub trivia reference. My very first time I went to trivia out in my hometown of Grafton, New South Wales, this was the very first question that popped onto the screen, and one of my Year 8 students from 2017 said, "Hey sir, how come we need to learn about the Black Death?" And I feel like at the very least, the Black Death or the plague is very good for pub trivia, as you can see through my hard evidence here, this primary source here. First job is going to be to watch this video by the Infographics Show. Does a really good summary of the causes and effects of the plague that you need to know for you to know and to be able to. After you finish watching that video there, it does go for about 10 minutes, you need to write down these notes in your book, which we'll discuss now. So the plague originated from Central Asia in 1346 CE or AD. The plague is a bacteria that lived in rats and was transmitted by fleas, and rats hitchhiked on ships which brought them to Europe where they spread the plague. So we're going to draw a cycle of the plague together as a class in this space here. And so what happened was that rats were actually the hosts of the plague, and fleas would bite the rats, get their blood in them, and then they would then bite humans, and that's how humans got the plague. And then the humans could also spread the plague to each other as well. Why did it spread so much? Please write down these notes as well. So the problem was that European society was very dirty. Regular people only bathed once a year at Easter. People slept on hay or on the ground. Sewage was above ground, and the disposing of bodies of people who'd been killed by the plague was very, very careless. They used to throw them out onto the streets, and someone in a cart would come around and collect them. So the reason it spread so much is essentially because the sanitation was so poor during the Middle Ages. So it was very easy for fleas and rats to run around and for people to not clean themselves up and expose themselves to the plague. So that's why it spread so much. You can see this map I've drawn here is the spread of the plague from 1347 right up until 1351, so when the plague started and when it ended. So you can see here it came up from Asia and the Middle East into Europe and affected the Frankish Empire quite heavily, but then did work its way into England as well, and then of course up into East Europe and then into Russia. After you finish that, watch this really good video by the Infographics Show again from their I Am series, and it's I Am a Plague Doctor. And then while you're watching, I want you to record a list of the things plague doctors had to do, and then we're going to share our list together. So you need to write down all the jobs that plague doctors had to do. So these were people who'd walk around in masks. They wanted to look like crows to scare. They believed the plague had a religious nature, that it was a punishment by God. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to scare away all the demons that lived inside people. So they used to wear these masks. They had herbs and like wet towels in these little noses here. They wanted to look like crows to scare away the demons. Their eyes were covered, of course, so the demons couldn't get in. And that's why they dressed that way. The effects of the plague. I want you to write these notes down in your books as well. So a bit of note-taking in this lesson. It killed 1/3 of Europe's population, and this equates to about 25 million people. The plague affected religion, some people turning away from religion, and some people becoming more religious. So, since the plague was thought to be God punishing people, people turned away from religion. They thought that religion couldn't help them anymore. So it kind of led to the downfall of the church in England. It changed the way people lived and how clean they were and their infrastructure. So what happened was feudalism led to the fall of the feudal system, which we see here as well. Peasants or skilled workers were able to charge more money for their services. So what happened was they could upgrade their houses to make them less dirty. So their roofs weren't made of hay anymore. They could put proper walls in. They wouldn't have to sleep on the ground or in beds of hay anymore. So really this influx of money into the poorer part of the population was one of the reasons the plague stopped, because people were more clean. And then it also changed their outlook on religion as well. And then, of course, it led to the downfall of the feudal system because noble people were less important. The plague kind of made everyone, the same because everyone could get the plague. And then skilled workers became more important. So that's your last piece of information there. And then as a class, you'll do a Kahoot as well on the plague and on some of the notes you've taken on some of the resources you've looked at this lesson as well. So this lesson, we've looked at the causes and effects of the plague, so how it started, how it was transmitted, and how it affected society. Next lesson, we'll look at the stages of the plague. So what happens once you get the plague. Guys, if you want to stay updated to any of the changes I make to any of my websites or any new videos I make, please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you.